Ballard Jr. was one of the most successful bowlers in the late 80s and early 90s, and when you start to break down his statistics, you see just how good he was in his prime. He won all 13 of his titles in a 6-year period, and 4 of those were majors, but it was his efficiency and consistency that was most impressive. In his career, he cashed in 287 of 518 tournaments, had a 30-21 record in televised PBA finals, and he also had an impressive title match record with 13-4. This does pose the question though, what could have his career looked like if his winning years were longer? Because as we will see, his prime was cut off quite short. His last title came in 1993 at the US Open when he was just 29 years old. So what went wrong? He had time on his side, he was still well in his prime, and in this video I'm going to answer that question of what happened to Ballard Jr. Ballard Jr. entered the tour in 1983 at 19 years of age. It would take him just 4 years to become a PBA champion. In 1987, at age 23, he won his first title, the US Open, and this was an important milestone because it meant he was the first 6-figure winner in PBA history, as he won $100,000. Winning your first title as a major is the perfect way to introduce yourself to the tour, especially as he defeated another rising star in Pete Weber, who was just a year older than him but already had 6 titles by that point. Ballard Jr. won again in 1987, and from there his career would take off. He won his second major in 1988, the ABC Masters. He won 3 titles in 89, including a 3rd major at the Tournament of Champions, and then in 1991 had the best year of his career. He won 4 titles and also made 9 televised appearances. Unfortunately, he just lost out on the Player of the Year award to David Ozio, who also won 4 titles that year, but one of those was a major, the Tournament of Champions. Despite having such a fantastic year though, there is one infamous moment that happened to Ballard that is still remembered to this day. I'm of course talking about the gutterball moment. At the 1991 Fairlanes Open, he was playing Pete Weber in the title match. Weber got all 3 strikes in the 10th, which meant Ballard needed 2 strikes and 7 pins to win. He struck twice and then threw the last shot in the gutter. This was one of the most incredible moments in PBA history. It still causes much debate about whether he should have just thrown the ball straight down the middle, but getting 7 pins is no gimme and it's not guaranteed by going straight. This took place on March 2nd of 91, and you might have thought that this would have really hurt Ballard and caused him to fall backwards. How was he ever going to recover from such a loss? Surely he would endure a slump and ongoing TV struggles. Well, not at all. 2 weeks later, he came out and won his first title of the year at the Long Island Open. And like I said earlier, he went on to have the best year of his career. Now that is remarkable. The gutterball incident probably would have finished a lot of players off. It's a real testament to how strong his mental game was that he just came back even stronger and had a career year. 1992 was still a good year for him, winning 2 titles. In 1993 he won just the single title, although it was a major, the US Open, where he beat Walter Ray Williams Jr. for the title. Now we've reached the real turning point of his career. Like I said in the intro, this would be his final title, but he was still only 29 going on 30 at this point. So what happened during the rest of the 90s? Well, he was still competitive, but he just wasn't making that many TV shows. After 93, he only had 3 top 5 finishes throughout the rest of the 90s, and a big clue as to what happened is the fact that he really fell off just before the mid-90s. Reactive bowling balls were introduced around 1991, but really it was around 92, 93 they really started to have a big impact. That was when people started winning titles with reactive, and it just started to explode and completely changed the game. Suddenly guys who couldn't really hook the ball as much as the power players were able to hook the lane and get much more pin action. That meant that the playing field was significantly leveled out. The players who'd been successful in the 80s mostly suffered because not only did they have loads of guys that were now able to match them in power and hook, they themselves had to learn how to use reactive, and many just could never quite get the hang of it. I think Del Ballard was a casualty of the reactive era. He clearly did learn to use reactive, but the edge that he had in the 80s was now gone. Along with the introduction of reactive came so many new power players and many players who really started to emerge in the 90s thanks to reactive. You had players like Walter Ray Williams Jr., Norm Duke, Amleto Monticelli, Parker Bone III, whose careers really took off from 93 onwards, the same time that Ballard's career faltered. Then you had guys like Brian Voss and Pete Weber, who'd already had success on tour, but just to demonstrate how hard it was for the older players on tour, let's use Pete Weber as an example because it wasn't always plain sailing for him after the introduction of reactive. He'd won so much in the 80s and was one of the best on tour. He continued to win regularly until 1993 and then bang, he just stopped winning just like Ballard did. In fact, in 1995, he had his worst year and seriously considered quitting the tour. He said he could just not bowl with reactive balls. It just wasn't working for him. He decided to take several months to learn how to stay behind the ball and how to actually use reactive in the right way. But like I said, in 95, he seriously considered quitting the tour for good. After a lot of practice and hard work, he would win again in 1997, but it shows what problems the best in the game were having during this period. It seems like 1993 really was the year where there was a big turning point. That's when reactives really took hold and then the game changed massively. I think when you look at Pete Weber as an example, it shows that he stopped winning at the exact same time pretty much as Ballard did, and there were others as well, which to me shows that it was down to the changes in the game. I don't think Ballard was necessarily bowling any worse. He still did make telecasts in the 90s. The problem was too many other players had overtaken him. What then happened after the 90s? Well, he continued to bowl on tour, but lost his tour card around 2003. However, he did not give up. He battled back and kept looking for a shot at redemption. His hard work did pay off. He made the telecast at the 2006 Phoenix Classic at age 42. This is a great telecast to watch. He was very fired up and put in a great performance, winning the semi-final match and then going on to face Dick Allen. Ballard was ahead throughout the match and looked to be going well. Allen was struggling a little bit to get going but made a very important ball change in the 6th. That paid off. He struck in the 7th, 8th and 9th to take the lead. Carey would elude Ballard at the end of the match and Allen would win his second title. It would have been a fantastic story if Ballard had won, as he would have broken a 12-year title drought. This would be Ballard's last significant moment on the main tour as his career came to a close. It's a real shame he didn't have one more title in him to finish his career with a flourish. After his bowling career, he continued to put so much into the game. He worked on tour as a ball rep / coach. He managed the Motown Muscle PBA League team for several years. But what Ballard did in such a short period of time was simply remarkable. And I think the most impressive feat of all was coming back after that gutterball moment and still having the best year of his career. That showed what he is made of as a player. And so that brings us to an end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed this one, taking a look back at Ballard's career. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, then please let me know any other players you'd like me to do a What Happened To video for. And if you have enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss any of my future videos. Well, that is going to do it from me for today. And as always, thank you, bowling fans, and see you all next time.